back to the Junior Small P channel. We've got two articles I wanted to discuss today, and this one here especially set it off. Gold reserve of national central banks in grams per capita. This is data from the World Gold Council, May of 2017, as well as other sources. Don't worry about the map. You don't need to pause it. We're going to break it down and go into it in much more detail. But as you can see, this is a map of grams of gold per citizen held by the central banks of those respective countries. This is that nation's reserves, gold reserves of national central banks per capita in Europe. This is by Jacob Marion. I very much appreciate him putting out this article, as this is the type of very interesting and peculiar information that I tend to enjoy, and I believe many of you here on the channel will also appreciate this insight and this map. Let's quickly read the article and then go back and really look at the map in more detail and look at it even according to different regions in Europe. Most national central banks in Europe hold a large amount of reserves in the form of foreign banknotes and deposits, treasury bills, gold, and other assets, which are called international reserves or foreign exchange reserves in popular usage, which technically speaking should only refer to reserves held in a foreign currency. The main reason for a central bank to hold any kind of reserve is to be able to implement its monetary policy, and gold reserves may expand or shrink as central bankers see fit. So differences in the size of gold reserves and foreign exchange reserves in general do not necessarily indicate differences in the wealth of nations. The map below shows the gold reserves of European national central banks in grams per capita as of May 2017. That is, if a central bank were to distribute the gold it possesses to all its inhabitants of the country equally, every inhabitant would receive the amount shown in the map. Now, for comparison, here are the corresponding figures for several other major nations. Pay close attention to the United States, because many of us that view this channel are here in the U.S., and we are one of the larger consumers and holders of gold. According to this map and according to the information the author has, the U.S. only has 25.5 grams per capita. So there's not even enough gold held by the United States for each person to hold an ounce. We have less than that, only 25.5 grams per citizen. Japan has only 6 grams, China 1.4. Then again, China has a large population, there's a lot of people there. India 0.4. Now that's the banks holding in India, not the people. The people of India are some of the largest holders of gold outside of a central bank institution in the world. So I'd be interested to see what the Indian population, if you broke down their gold distribution, it would be interesting to see that information as well. Brazil 0.3. So they have 0.3 grams per citizen. So there you go, US 25.5. Now let's get into looking at Europe. We'll take a closer look at it by region, but as you can see here, as we scroll up there, you can see that Portugal has 36.4 grams per citizen. That's surprising. If you left this map blank and we had to guess between, I guess, 0 and 100, and I had to fill this map out, I don't believe I would have put Portugal at 36.4 grams per citizen. Look at Spain is 6, so they're a little bit behind there when it comes to being with their neighbor Portugal. France, 36.9 grams of gold per citizen. Italy, that's another one that surprised me, 41 grams per citizen. I would have guessed Italy being lower just based on certain things you read in the news when you're looking at economics and what's taking place over there. And I've been to the nation of Italy itself, been to the country, and my guess would be that a lot of that gold, of course it's in the banks there, but it would be held in the northern regions and perhaps Rome for that matter. But I wouldn't guess that Italy would have had 41 grams of gold per citizen. Really jumping out at you there. It's a small number as far as the font size, but look at the 128.7 grams in Switzerland. That's one that I would have guessed right. I would have put Switzerland as having the most gold, and I believe I would have also guessed Germany as coming in second place. So Germany's got 41.9 grams of gold per citizen. And then you look up, you've got England or the UK, I apologize, the United Kingdom. Pardon me, you UK residents, I always call that big island there England. 4.8, 4.8 there. Ireland 1.3, so not a lot of gold there in grams per citizen in Ireland. And then you look up to the right there, you can see the Russian Federation sitting at 11.7 grams of gold per Russian citizen. Let's zoom in here on Southern Europe. We'll take a closer look at some of these nations and their gold holdings. We already discussed Portugal, Spain, and France, and Italy. But let's take a look over at the eastern part of Southern Europe there. We've got 0.6. So the nation of Albania only has 0.6 grams of gold per citizen. But I also see a couple of zeros up there. When you look at Croatia, just there on the basically on the other side of the Adriatic Sea, 0 grams of gold per citizen. And then you've also got the nation of the Republic of Moldova, 0 grams. And Moldova is up on the northeastern corner of Romania there, kind of tucked up against Romania. Romania is sitting at 5.2 grams of gold per citizen. Hungary, 0.3, just 0.3 grams of gold per citizen. Then you've got the entire nation of Turkey there, lower right, just east of Greece. They hold 5.7 grams of gold per citizen. And then Greece, another more poor nation when it comes to the European wealth holdings. They're sitting at 10.2 grams of gold per citizen. Moving north, I have to throw some criticism at Norway. I thought you were the land of Vikings. You guys used to pillage and raid. What happened to all the gold you spent hundreds of years pillaging? I'm very disappointed in Norway as a nation and their holdings of gold. 0 grams of gold per citizen. Sweden and Finland, you're not doing that much better at 13.1 grams and 9 grams of gold per citizen. And then you've got Estonia holding 0.2 grams, Latvia 3.2 grams, and Lithuania 2 grams of gold per citizen. Of course, the leaders here in the northern part of Europe that we are looking at, 36.5. That healthy number, which is over an ounce of gold, goes to the nation of the Netherlands, holding more than an ounce of gold per citizen. And then we look at Belgium, 20.3, also not bad compared to other nations up on the board here. Germany coming in at 41.9 grams of gold per citizen. That's also not bad. Luxembourg, it looks like they just hold 4.1 grams of gold per citizen. Iceland, way up northwest there, you can see the northern left side of the screen, 6.1 grams of gold per citizen. We'll finish off here just taking last look at Eastern Europe. Again, Russian Federation, 11.7 grams of gold per citizen. The Ukraine, 0.6 grams of gold per citizen. Belarus, 4.3 grams. And then we've got Poland with 2.7 grams of gold per citizen. Very interesting article and interesting perspective, interesting map. And it led me to an older article, and the information here kind of ties into what we just looked at and we just talked about. The title for this article, Every Citizen Should Own 3.5 Ounces of Gold. This comes from a central bank, and that central bank is Kyrgyzstan. This article came from Zero Hedge and was out about a year ago, saying every citizen should own 3.5 ounces of gold bullion. The central bank governor has a dream for every citizen to own at least 100 grams of gold bullion. Governor of Central Bank Kyrgyzstan said the central bank had sold around 140 kilos of gold bullion to the domestic population already. Central Asian countries' central bank continues to diversify into gold bullion. Quote, gold can be stored for a long time, doesn't lose its value, for the population has a means of savings, unquote, And then, quote, I'll try to turn the dream into reality faster. Now, this is the kind of central bank guy I want in my country. He gets it. This guy is on point and on the money, no pun intended. And as you can see here, Kyrgyzstan keeps buying gold. I've seen them mentioned in the news before. I've seen them in the reports, and I'm looking at lists of who's buying gold bars, where gold's being shipped to. You'll see their name pop up. And sure enough, dating back to 2006, this little country has been gobbling up the yellow metal. And I applaud them for that. What a good decision on their part. Who knows, when the tide turns and the tables flip and the switch goes off and the currency reset hits, we might be surprised at where Kyrgyzstan falls in the global scheme of economics. The governor of the Central Bank of Kyrgyzstan has told Bloomberg News in an interview that it is his dream for every citizen in his country to own at least 100 grams, 3.5 ounces of gold, as a way to protect their savings, diversifying one's savings so that they are not solely held in fiat paper or electronic currencies. Bitcoin friends of mine, please pay attention to that. In frequently vulnerable banks, in a vulnerable banking and financial system is prudent advice in these uncertain times. Indeed, there is a strong case to be made that the policies of most central banks in recent years have led to a massive debt bubble and the risk of another financial crisis, currency wars, and currency debasement on a grand scale. Hence, it was very refreshing to hear the actual governor of a central bank passionately advocate and proactively helping his fellow citizens to protect their savings by diversifying and having an allocation to physical gold. Physical gold. From Bloomberg we read, one of the first post-Soviet republics to adopt a new currency and let it trade freely, Kyrgyzstan's central bank wants every citizen to diversify into gold. Governor Tokunbek Abdenulov says his dream is for every one of the 6 million citizens to own at least 100 grams, 3.5 ounces, of the precious metal, the Central Asian country's biggest export. Quote, gold can be stored for a long time, and despite the price fluctuations on international markets, it doesn't lose its value for the populations as a means of savings, unquote, he said in an interview. Quote, I'll try to turn the dream into reality faster, unquote. In the 2 years that the central bank has offered bars directly to the population, about 140 kilograms of gold bullion have been sold, Abdimilogov, 40, said by phone from the capital, Bishkek. Quote, we are hopeful that our country's population will learn to diversify its savings into assets that are more liquid, more importantly, capable of retaining their value, unquote, he said. In rural areas, cattle is still the asset of choice for investors and savers, according to Abdigulov. Kyrgyzstan has bucked a trend among central banks, the biggest owners of bullion, by stepping up buying, even as its counterparts cut purchases in 2016 to a 6-year low. Global combined bar and coin demand fell, according to the World Gold Council. Across the emerging world, gold, often seen as the ultimate haven at times of upheaval, hardly needs any extra promotion. India, the world's largest consumer after China, is in fact taking steps to curb imports of the precious metal by encouraging citizens to deposit private gold holdings in banks. Please put your money in my bank and we would like to take your gold on deposit and give you paper currency in exchange for it. In Turkey, where banks can use bullion as part of their reserve assets, President Recep Tayyip Erdogan last year called on people to convert their foreign currency savings into liras and gold. What makes Kyrgyzstan unique is the central bank's effort to win converts by providing infrastructure for safekeeping and investment. The central bank produces bars of different sizes, varying in weight from 1 to 100 grams. The central bank governor believes his plan is realistic, even though it means the population would own about 600 tons of gold, equivalent to 30 times the nation's current annual output. Abdigulov declined to specify the time frame for when his goal of 100 grams per person can be met. The options available for storage include safe deposit boxes at commercial lenders or with the central bank, he said. Some people opt to keep gold at home or possibly even bury it in the ground, according to Abdigalov. With Kyrgyzstan enduring upheaval from economic crises in the early 1990s to bank failures during the last decade, gold is seen as a far safer bet than securities, he said. Quote, for Kyrgyzstan, gold is an alternative instrument of investment, Abdigalov said. Quote, the national bank has ensured liquidity for gold. We aren't only selling, but also buying back gold bars that we produced and sold, unquote. As Abdigalov took the reins of the central bank in 2014, Kyrgyz policymakers decided to raise gold's share in its own reserves, now keeping about 10% of its $2 billion holdings in bullion. After years of capping the amount at 2.6 tons, the stockpile surged by more than 70% since 2012 to 4.5 tons at the end of the third quarter in 2016, according to the latest data compiled by the London-based World Gold Council. With Kyrgyzstan's output at about 20 tons a year, the central bank uses the national currency, the som, to buy gold mined locally, which can then be sold abroad if needed, according to Abdigalov. The governor said he's counting on higher output in the future. Now, in case you disagree with Abdigalov and think he's misinformed or uneducated, let's take a look at his background just a little bit here. Abdigalov, who has a master's degree from Nagoya University in Japan and the University of North Texas, may be a gold enthusiast, but he's no advocate for dislodging the dollar completely. His advice is based on the, quote, rule of three, unquote, splitting up savings between the som, foreign currency, and gold. As for the metals prospect, he's upbeat even after it surged the most in 5 years in 2016 and continued to post gains in 2017. Bullion has rallied more than 7% this year as concerns that Donald Trump's policies on trade and immigration could derail U.S. growth boosted speculation that the Federal Reserve would be slow to raise borrowing costs. Well, there you have it. Two very interesting looks at gold, a map of Europe, who holds grams of gold per citizen and how much, and then this story out of Kyrgyzstan of a central banker who's trying to get his people to hold more gold. Very interesting indeed. I hope you enjoyed this information. This definitely relates and pertains to the subject matter we cover here on the Junius Maltby channel. If you like this video, you like the content, please give it a thumbs up. Tell me you like it. And share it with your friends, share it with others, post it to your social media. And if you're not subscribed already, please do so. And explore the archives, the playlists, and the other material that is here on the channel. I appreciate it. Thank you all for being part of the Junius Maltby channel and joining in on these discussions related to sound money, precious metals, and the news that pertains to them during the day. All right, keep stacking and have a great evening.